What's up, guys? Sandra's the Destroyer here, and I'm here with another new What If. Before I get started, I just want to shout out the King of What Ifs. Link will be in the description. Check out his channel, lots of cool content there. So, get into the What If. It's what if Naruto had the 8 and 9 tails? And like I do with all my What Ifs, before we start, I have to establish some sort of change point where the story would dramatically change from the beginning. So, my change point in this situation would be that during the first Great Shinobi War that Hashirama Senju won, the penalty would be a lot steeper than it was in canon. Basically, ensuring that Konoha had the top two strongest tailed beasts, that being the eights and the nine tails. So, as in canon, I do believe that the nine tails would be still passed throughout the Uzumaki clan, and maybe some other powerful clan, no, the Namikaze clan or something, would possess the eight tails because the eight tails is super, super strong. So canon still follows same circumstances that result in both Minato and Kushina's death. Let's just say that Naruto somehow this is where it gets really confusing because who would have the eight tails? Minato has the eight tails. That means he'd have to expend even more chakra than in canon from to summon to seal the both eight tails and nine tails inside of inside of Kid Naruto. So he would probably die if he didn't die from Kurama piercing his claw through him. He'd probably die from chakra exhaustion. So, and also in this canon is another important note to make that Naruto has the full power of the Kyuubi, not just half in canon. And yes, Naruto's chakra levels would be absolutely massive, as he'd have so much more than he did in canon. So I attempted to make a chakra scaling system based on the research I gathered. So it's like, so the one tails, I put Shukaku at having one. This is just a scale. One, Matatabi has double that. Isobu has double that. Goku has double. It's just double until you get to Kurama. Half of Kurama, Yin Kurama, Yang Kurama, each have double of Gyuki, but full Kurama has 4 times of Gyuki. So at Naruto's maximum, according to this scale that I made, he would be able to access 640 chakra plus his own. This is just a complete scale that I made. I don't know if it makes sense at all, but this is what I've gathered from it. So, just due to the sheer volume of Naruto's chakra, his chakra control would be absolutely abysmal. It'd be worse than it was in canon. I personally believe he would fail more times than in canon, but it's this just up for interpretation. Because I bet he would have to learn the shadow clones much sooner, as it'd be the only way to just harness his chakra with such a volume that he has. So I believe he learned shadow clones while still in the academy rather than with the secret scroll, like with Mitsuki and all of that. So Naruto, mind you, Naruto would still be hated, but I don't think he'd be hated as much because he'd have like the evil and the good. They'd see him like strife, like controlling both. And I also think Naruto would be a little bit smarter, or like not smarter, but more strategic, because like Yuki Eight Tails is a really good strategist, as you see in the manga and anime with what he does with Killer B. And I think Naruto would have more of a natural bond with Yuki because he'd respect Naruto for what he's like doing, and the burdens he's put upon himself, and just who he is as a person. How he's always constantly optimistic, no matter what his situation is, how much people hate him, how much people just despise him, wish he was dead, and all that. So Naruto has a better friendship with Yuki, but Kurama's just still there. And as for his stats, I mean, the only major differences in his stats are I'd say his taijutsu slightly better, because he's just physically stronger, and chakra has some sort of to do with physicality and strength. So the more like physical, spiritual energy you have, the higher your chakra is. And since his chakra is so high, I just assume that his taijutsu would be stronger because his overall physicality is just greater. And his strength, same reason as taijutsu, just greater physicality. Intelligence, it's not like book intelligence, it's just strategy. Like I wish in this Naruto like data book for stats there was just another stat for just strategy rather than just intelligence. Stamina is obviously a 5 because he has two-tailed beasts. Now we get to team selection. I still believe that he would be with Kakashi even more so than in canon. Like, he'd have even more of a need for to stick him with Kakashi, as he has two tailed beasts rather than one, the original one. Um, so they still do their D rank missions in canon, all their D ranks. Then they're sent to the land of the waves. Now, the land of waves is where everything gets interesting. So the original fight with Zabuza goes much the same, except you could say that Naruto's able to do something, like produce some sort of ink, because that's what the Eight Tails can do. But other than that, it goes much the same. Kakashi's still fatigued, Haku still shows up, and that whatnot happens. So Naruto, when the tree climbing exercise comes, Naruto's chakra control, since it's way worse than usual, he would he would be out there for maybe much longer, but I don't think he'd still go out there. I think he'd learn it in like a bit longer, maybe like another hour or so. But I don't think he'd pass out because he has more chakra. But then again, because I think he'd be able to tap into portions of the Eight Tails chakra by now, because Gyuki's just much more friendly. But you could make the case that Kurama would just do something to ensure that Gyuki doesn't lend him chakra or anything. So you can make either case. I don't really know. So let's just say that Naruto can't use Gyuki's chakra just for sake of argument, because Kurama will just like hurt Gyuki or something if he lends him chakra. So Naruto still passes out. Takes him even longer. Still passes out. Still meets Haku. They have their speech about precious people. Then Naruto goes back to Kakashi. Kakashi rests up. They keep on escorting Tazuna across the bridge. Then now they meet Zabuza and Haku. So Naruto and Sasuke still have their fight against Haku. So it'd be Sasuke with his normal, his one Tomoe in one, two Tomoe in the other, his ridiculous Sharingan, his incomplete Sharingan, plus Naruto basically spamming shadow clones and using limited ink from the Eight Tails whenever he can. Now, when Sasuke throws himself in front of Naruto to deflect him from the Senbon, when he gets hit and Naruto thinks that Sasuke is dead, it'd all be the same at the end in canon, that Sasuke would be like Naruto's first friend and closest friend. So Naruto would still snap and get extremely, extremely angry. And once he does that, two types of chakra would be emanating from him. The Eight Tails and the Nine Tails. And there's no reason to believe that they wouldn't stack on each other. So you can reasonably make a case that Naruto right now is outputting 2 to 3 tails worth of chakra. So Haku's getting bodied, essentially turned into fodder, nearly on death's door, even worse than in canon. And so let's just say by some miracle Haku still, I don't even know, Haku may be just too beat up to even save Zabuza. So let's just say, to make this more interesting, Haku is not able to save Zabuza because Haku's just too beat up, on the verge of death, and Zabuza dies. So, changes in canon. Haku's still alive, Zabuza's dead, and they're just there when Gato's men approach. I think Naruto, still in just fury, would just destroy all of Gato's men. And then Kakashi would really contemplate whether to kill Haku or not, because Haku could be seen as a threat, but Naruto doesn't really think Haku is all that bad, just is like, as Haku said in canon, was just lacking a purpose in life after Zabuza died. So I feel like that Naruto using this would be his first Talk no Jutsu, would tells Haku that just because you lost one purpose in life doesn't mean you can't have another. And then somehow would convince Haku to become a shinobi of the Hidden Leaf, let's say. And so after a ton of healing, the great Naruto bridge is still built. when they're returning home, it's Naruto, Sasuke, Sakura, Kakashi, now Haku, and I believe that Haku would be able to be led into the village as third Hokage was really, really generous about who was able to go in the village and who wasn't. He was very, I wouldn't say lenient, but he was accepting. That's a better word, accepting of who was able to go into the village and who wasn't. And you can really make the case that Haku's skills are well above Genin level. So Haku's not even a Genin. I mean, you could put Haku on some team, some fodder team to put in the tuning exams, but I don't think that'd be as exciting. I think it'd be more exciting if Haku could just take the tuning exams by himself. So let's just say Haku takes the tuning exams. Let's just take the tuning exams by himself. Same time Team 7 does. I don't know. So now more D-rank missions come and go. We're in the tuning exams arc. Now you still have the introductory meeting between Naruto, Sasuke, Sakura, and the Sand siblings. So they have their meeting, discussion, and then they talk about the tuning exams. And they get to the tuning exams tower, just like in canon, time's running out. Sasuke and Naruto still challenge Lee. Sasuke gets bodied, Naruto gets bodied, and it just all plays out the same in canon. The only difference is there was one extra participant in the tuning exams, and that's Haku. Because Haku has a new purpose in life, having never died, just been on the verge of death. So everyone gets through the first round. Haku cheats using his ice mirrors, and everyone gets that. So now we're at the Forest of Death, and I think that's where I'm going to leave it off right now. If you liked, just subscribe, hit that like button, comment if you want. And yeah, that's the Santos Destroyer, and that was part 1 of What If Naruto Had the 8 and 9 Tails, and I'm out.